What is the new Earth Priestess? Have you ever heard that phrase or that title before? I certainly hadn't until I received it, but it made so much sense once I did. So in this video, I'm going to have a chat about that, about what's led me on the path to actually even receiving that and how I'm incorporating it into my work now, and just sharing a little bit that might help you to tap into whether that is a path that you feel you are here to walk. I'm Jacquelyn Atkins. Welcome to my channel. If this is your first time here, great to have you. And I'm intrigued to explore this topic with you, but also to hear your response to it and what it means to you. So when I was recently in Europe and visited Delphi and the Temple of Apollo at Delphi, where the Pythia, the oracle of Delphi, was, and there was near that temple is the Temple of Athena. So if you watch that video, I'll link it below in case you're interested in seeing it. I show you those temples. So while I was there for the few days, the path of the priestess came to me quite strongly. And this is partly because the first day I visited the ruins there at Delphi, and I was walking up towards the Temple of Apollo, I had this incredible flash of past life, perhaps, certainly a memory of walking up there at a celebration and knowing I was a priestess, knowing that my role was as the oracle at that time, the Pythia, and also being aware of other priestesses around me and their role. And it was really strong. And as I was walking up the pathway leading up to the Temple of Apollo, it was like I had been transferred into a movie set. That's how it felt, because I could see it so vividly and I could experience it, and I could feel what I was feeling then, that aspect of me that had experienced that. And so I really dropped into the energy of the priestess while I was there. And then something opened in that, because then when I went on to Crete and visited a couple of other ancient Minoan palaces, couldn't think of the word there, palaces, the ruins of them, and knowing that the Minoans were matriarchal in many ways, or they appear to be, and certainly worshipped the goddess primarily. And also realizing the priestesses that would have been there in those temples, in those palaces, I tapped into that energy as well. So the priestess energy was really strong for me. And then I think it was while I was there, I had a dream. Oh, no, it was that I was coming out of a dream. I was just coming into that consciousness, and I received 5 priestess paths that I have walked and that are very important now for all of us, particularly women who are remembering a path in service to the goddess. And those 5 paths were the priestess of sacred waters, the priestess of alchemy. That was actually quite an interesting one, because at first it came through as sound, but then it was more about frequency, and then it finalized with, no, it's alchemy. So I actually went through a bit of a process in the receiving of that. The priestess of earth magic, the priestess of the oracle, and the priestess of the rose. So I received those 5 pathways. And what the knowledge that came with that is that it is important for us to be remembering these pathways. So just going back to Delphi for a moment, many of us associate the phrase "know thyself" with Delphi. And I talked about this in the video I created there, because there were 2 actual, would you call it a phrase? But anyway, I can't think of the word right now, but there were two that apparently were over the temple entrance, the Temple of Apollo entrance. And these were recorded, that's how they're known. And one is Know Thyself, and that is the most well-known one. But the second one is Nothing in Excess. And I read somewhere there were actually 7, but these are the 2 that are mostly talked about. And at the time when I was tuning into those, I was thinking about, isn't that interesting? Know Thyself and Nothing in Excess. For me, this feels like these are foundational aspects of what we are going through right now in our co-creation of New Earth. I mean, isn't this journey at the moment all about knowing yourself? You know, as you do all your self-development and whatever path you take, it's about knowing yourself. It's about shedding the layers that have accumulated around you, probably over lifetimes, and getting back to the core of who you really are. Because how can you move into a resonance of what could be called fifth dimensional or New Earth frequency? How can you move into a resonance if you don't know who you are? Not knowing who you are keeps you in a denser energy. It keeps you in a different frequency. So this is a part of the expansion we're going through. And as I mentioned, the word shedding, nothing in excess. We have lived in a materialistic society. I mean, we still do at a 3D level, which is about accumulation. That's not the way of New Earth. We do not need to accumulate because what we require is there for us as we need it. And so, interestingly, the ladies in my Priestess of the Rose group, I have a group that are with me for a year. We're going through a couple of initiations. And for so many of them, they are going through this shedding at the moment. It's just like this urge of, I have to shed. And now that I'm living this mobile, nomadic, house-sitting, traveling life, I'm the same. I can't carry anything more than what fits into my car or my suitcase. And so there's this shedding going on. And I'm interested to know if you're experiencing this. I mean, we're in Virgo season. It's a great time to do it. But this is all about this nothing in excess. You know, why do you need 10 of that thing? I mean, in fact, you only need 1. You know, so we are doing this now to help our frequency move to a higher vibration. And in doing that, we are in a frequency to assist in the co-creation of New Earth. So that really stood out for me when I visited Delphi. And the other 2 things, or the other thing that those 2 things brought up for me, do I need to rephrase that? What also came to me around that was that this is the path of the priestess. The path of the priestess is knowing yourself. And as you know yourself, and as you shed what you are not, and as you shed the stuff that you are not, maintaining what is supporting you on your path of service, but your vibration changes. You move into a different resonance. And this is the path of the New Earth Priestess. It is not about going into training for your life, as the priestesses in those ancient times did. I mean, it was an honor. It was an honor for families if the daughter, or maybe the families placed them there, but also if the daughter chose to train as a priestess, because that was an honoring of the goddess, of the great creatrix of all. And we are doing it now, not in that way. We are living life. We may be working jobs. We may have businesses. We may have children. We may have aging parents. We may have a partner. We may have all of these things that require our attention and require our love and require our service. We're not cloistered in a beautiful temple where we can just dedicate ourselves to the goddess through finding ourselves and then providing that service. So this is the New Earth Priestess. This is the path that you are walking. But on that path, very often you still require guides. You certainly require a sacred sisterhood around you to support you, to uplift you, to see you, to understand the journey to know thyself, to share their wisdom with you. It's really exciting that we are taking this ancient tradition and it's resurfaced now. For centuries it had to go underground during the whole Inquisition times. Women were afraid to honor the priestess within themselves. Now we can. And we can do it with a like-minded tribe. And so when I was given those 5 paths of the priestess, they are all ancient paths. They are paths that many of us have walked. They are paths associated with different sites around the world. And they were all paths to knowing ourselves. They were all paths in service to the Great Mother. And they were also paths in service to humanity. Because the thing is, the more you know yourself and the truer you become and the higher your frequency becomes, the more you can share your gifts. The more people are magnetized to you to receive your gifts. So it is very much about the self first, so that you can be in service in the way that you came here to be in service. Whether that is through a business, whether that is through your work, whether that is to your family, whether that is to your friends, whether that is volunteering, however you are choosing to be of service to the earth herself. But ultimately, you came here to gift something that you have, some gifts that you have. And this is the new Earth Priestess. This path is about remembering who you are, remembering those gifts, and how do you share those gifts. And so, because I was shown that there are codes, if you like, certain wisdom from each of those 5 paths I mentioned before that can support us in our journey now, in our journey to fully embody the new Earth Priestess. What I've done is created an online journey. It's a journey that involves 5 90-minute sessions, and each of those 90-minute sessions will be devoted to one of those priestess paths. And in that session, I will guide the group back into a certain period of time where they walked the path of that particular priestess, and guiding you to remember your gifts on that path, what you learned on that path, and what you can bring from that path into your path now as the new Earth Priestess. So I'm offering this. There's 5 calls, as I said. Each call is every second week to give a lot of time in between for integration. And I'm starting this journey on September the 24th, which is the 23rd in North America, South America. This journey is limited to 22 people, and that's because I give an activation to each person every call. So you actually get a personal activation each call as part of that particular path that we're walking. And almost half of the places have been taken from those on my email list. But if you are interested, there are still, I think it's 12 places. So the link is below, and this is the perfect time to join because I have got an early bird special. So the cost of this journey is 333 Australian dollars. Now, whatever currency you're in, chances are it's going to be a lot lower than Australian dollars. So pounds is about half. Euros is slightly more than half. US dollars is about 2/3. I forgot to look. Actually, I did look up the US dollars yesterday. It's about 190 US dollars. So just to give you an idea of how much that is. But I do have an early bird where you save $55. So the early bird is 288 Australian dollars. Sorry, that's the 190 US is from the 288. So this early bird goes till Sunday, the 15th of September. Australian Eastern time. So midnight on Sunday in my time, the early bird ends. So that's 14 hours earlier if you're in on Eastern time. 9 hours earlier if you're in the UK. You can calculate it from there, but that's when the early bird finishes. So you have until then if you want to grab one of these final places. This is going to be an amazing journey. The calls alter in time. One week the call suits you if you're in Europe. Another week the call suits you if you're in America, somewhere down that time zone or time zones. And this is just so that everyone has a chance to be live on these calls. There is a replay, and the replay is sent out shortly afterwards. The replay is as powerful, really, because you can do it when there's quiet. You can really honor the process and the journey we go on. And many of those who come live end up listening to the replay anyway. So these are incredible journeys. I've held these journeys before, these remember journeys, but this is the first time I've done Remember the Path of the Priestess. And this will be very, very profound if you are willing to go there, if you are willing to remember that you are a priestess and claim that. It may not look like the way a priestess used to look. You've walked that path. But in remembering those paths you've walked, you can bring it into the embodiment of the new Earth Priestess. I'd love you to be able to join me for this. It's going to be an incredible experience. Let me just have a quick note. I never write notes for my YouTube videos. I think this is the first time I have. But because I was talking about this experience, I wanted to make sure I hadn't forgotten anything at all. No, I remembered it all. See, that's why I don't need to write notes. It just flows anyway. If you have any questions at all about this journey, please pop them in the comments below, or you can send me an email at jacquelynatkins.com. Also, I will put the link below, obviously, so you can go and have a look at the invitation page and see if this is resonant with you. Because obviously you must feel a resonance with this. This is the sort of journey that when you hear about it or when you read the invitation page, it's like, I have to do that. You know, this is what I love about my work, because the women who join me on these journeys, join me in my membership, it's that feeling. It's like, I have to do that. You know that it is a part of your journey and your expansion and your embodiment of these higher frequencies. And I love that I am able to share this with you and activate this within you. So let me know if you have any questions. I would love you to be able to join me on the journey if you are one of the final 12. And I recommend getting in before the early bird finishes on Sunday. Priestess blessings to you. See you next time.